Namaskaram to all and a very good morning. We shall start our session today. Chaturmukha-samarambham Vakbhadacharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-padyandam Vande Guru-paramparam Ragadirogan Satatanushaktan Asheshakaya Prasrutan Asheshan Aulsukya-moha-aradidan Jakhana Yopurva-vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. We missed one session in between. And in our last session, we were discussing about the finer aspects of Rasadhatu, which is the essence made out of Ahara Sara, processed by Jadharagni, and accepted by the Sharira as its fundamental nourishment. And anything which is accepted inside the Sharira can have again a Prasada Bhava and a Kitta Bhava, which is well known and well documented by Acharya Charaka in his Sharirasthana. And the Kitta Bhaga of Dhadu Parinama, which we discussed, and we came to a term called Kleda. And into this Kleda, all the Malabhavas, which are products of the Dhadu Parinama, are poured into. And we were discussing about the Rasadhadu and this Kleda in order to make a better understanding, a finer understanding about doshas. And our last statement was that when the Mala load in the Kleda is dominated by some or the other reason, then it is becoming a very dangerous substance. And we call it as a Dusha Vishesha in many conditions. Actually, it is a Dusha Vishesha in almost every disease. No, there is no separation, but there are certain situations where it is to be highlighted, that will be highlighted, that's all. Kledam is a indispensable part of all sampraptis, the Kleda Dushti. Now, looking further into the Rasadhadu, we can understand that Rasadhadu is the main bulk of the Kleda. And they are not, they cannot be separated. They are inseparable. Taking the Rasadhadu from the Kleda or putting them apart is not a possible exercise. So, when we try to understand the Rasadhadu at any given point of time, obviously we will be understanding the Kleda as such, the Kleda of Sharira at that particular point of time. And because of this reason, for all practical purposes, they are considered as one and same. For all practical purposes, whenever we understand, whenever we mention, whenever we highlight Rasadhadu, obviously that will accommodate the Kleda as well. And when we say Kleda, Rasa is also accommodated. But it is a conditional statement. It is in Prakriti. It is in Prakritavastha. Why? Because in Prakritavastha, there is a system in place. There is a system in place for clearing the malabhavas of the kleda uninterruptedly, continuously. The malabhavas of the kleda is cleared, excreted, taken out uninterruptedly. There is a mechanism in place for that. That is why we say that, okay, kleda is equal to, or for all practical purposes, considered equal to rasa. Our rasa is, but when this system which is operating for this purpose fails, then I think it is a vikrita avastha. It is not prakrita bhava, it is a vaikrita, vikriti, vaikrita bhava or vikrita bhava. Then I think the picture is changing. Why do I highlight this point? Because earlier we saw that the status of rasadhadu is a reflection of the bhuta availability to the sharira from a given meal. At one point of time, when we try to understand what is the status of rasadhadu, that is the something which is sourced from a meal. A rasadhadu is one which is sourced from the meal. So the status of rasadhadu will be reflecting the bhuta gunas, the available bhutas to sharira. So rasadhadu is similar to kleda. Kleda is similar to rasadhadu. So when we are saying that the status of rasadhadu reflects the availability of bhuta or bhuta gunas at a given point of time, it also means that it is the status of the kleda as well. So the bhuta gunas that the body gain by the pachana of an ahara, I repeat, the bhuta gunas, when I say gunas, definitely you have to understand it as dravya, bhuta, but as our interest is to highlight the gunas, I am using the term guna, that's all. So the bhuta gunas that the body gain by the pachana of an ahara are immediately reflected in the kleda of the sharira. Fine. Now let's move forward. This udaga bhava of the sharira, which we understood as kleda, which has rasa as its major component, is a matrix in which all the life events, all the events related to life are staged. Many things, everything. So it is in that matrix that everything is happening. It is a platform of happening. It is an area of happening. Formation of various types of differentiated sneha bhavas, kala, srotas, dhatus, and they mix and match. Especially the dhatus mix and match to form various avayavas, and they work together to form avayava vyavasthas. And many other gross, minute, subtle events keep on happening in this matrix. So that way, the status of kleda at any given point of time is going to be important in deciding the quality and quantity of the dhadus and all other principles made out of these dhadus. The status of kleda is going to be very crucial. If you have to understand the quality of the dhadus, you have to understand the quality of kleda. Earlier in our session, one of our sessions, maybe I think the previous one, we said, observed how the status of rasa and the status of doshas are connected. Now we took the word rasa away from it and put kleda there. Going little bit deep into it, we may be able to see more things. See, the entire process of ahara pachana, there are 3 stages identified. Adau shadrasamapyannam madhuri bhudam irayet pheni bhudam kabha. Like that, we have identified certain stages. The initial stage is the disintegration, kledana and shidhilikarana of annadravya using dravas, and of course, because of the process of charvanam as well. Second is its digestion proper, pachanam. And the third is the post-digestive segregation to assimilate the essence and pushing the waste down to the next stage of some sort of a pre-excretory processing. Sarakitta vibhajanam, kittadhonayanam. And during this process, this 3-phased process, each stage is dominated by specific bhuta gunas. Initial one, Jala and Prithvi. Then Agni. And then the last, Vayu Akasha. If we put this into the language of doshas, Kabha in the first stage, Pitta in the second, Vayu in the third. These incidents happening in the Annavahasrodhas and Koshta reflect in the kleda of the Sharira simultaneously. This shows that the inner matrix of kleda in Sharira immediately, simultaneously respond. Immediately and simultaneously, there is a slight difference in meaning, no? Immediately means this happens, the next matra, the other one happens. Immediately after. Whereas simultaneously means this is happening, parallel to the other thing is happening. So there is maybe a difference of a one matra. It is very difficult to state whether it is simultaneously or immediately. Anyway, I would prefer to use simultaneously. But sometimes I may be using the word immediately. That is why I'm making this disclaimer. So what we were saying is the incidents happening in the koshta reflect in the kleda of the sharira simultaneously. And this shows that the inner matrix called kleda simultaneously responds to the events in the koshta and its related srodasas, and vice versa. So, because of the stress given to the word simultaneously, they can be considered as mirror images. Even we can go to that extent that what is happening in the koshta will be mirrored in the kleda, and vice versa. What is happening in the kleda will be mirrored in the koshta. This is a very important understanding of Ayurveda Sharira. This is a very important understanding of Ayurveda Sharira, which we may not be taking with due consideration, because we will wait for the Western physiologists to mention this, to highlight this. Up to that, we will not explore into this finer aspects of Ayurveda Sharira. Forget it. I'm not going to a blame game. But we have to understand that these work as mirror images of each one and each other. Now, based on that simultaneously and immediately words, we can frame a question here. What is that question? Which is the first response? The one happening in the koshta or the one in the kleda? And we can have two arguments. The first one goes like this, the first argument. What is that? The changes in the different stages of pachana that are happening in the koshta. When I say koshta, you have to accommodate anavahasrodas as well, even though they are not exactly the one and same. So the changes happening in the stages of pachana that is happening in the koshta require specific support from the doshas. That requires specific backup from the doshas, and hence the kleda changes accordingly first to facilitate pachana. So their argument is the stage-wise changes in the kleda are the first one to happen. And the second argument is the reverse of the first one. What is that? It proposes the changes in the koshta are the first one to happen, because these events in the koshta are self-driven and instinctive as far as life is concerned. So what? That happens first, and the kleda inside reflects these changes subsequently. Definitely, both these proposals can have their own takers. But to be very honest, this is a question which is very difficult to answer precisely, because we are discussing about a living system, and it is very difficult to establish the exact chronology of events happening in it. Suppose there are a plant, a machinery with multiple spinning wheels which are interconnected, and multiple belts running in it, connecting various levels of wheels, and you switch on the plant, it starts all of a sudden. The entire plant starts all of a sudden. And how can we say that which wheel started spinning first? They are all interconnected. So once the system is ready to start, ready to move, everything happens first. So whether there will be a simultaneous movement or an immediately after the previous one, preceding, following events, it is very difficult to answer. And it is something like the egg or chicken, which is first puzzle, difficult to solve. Only thing what we can give, what answer we can give is, this is how the system is set. But we have to understand that such a system is in place. Events in the koshta, that is the ahara pachana, and changes in the kleda, that is the inner matrix, they mirror each other. This is very, very important understanding. Okay, now ahara pachana and the related activities are the one which leads to the formation of rasadhatu, which is going to feed the kleda. Now, we saw that the events happening in the koshta makes simultaneous responses in the kleda now. And earlier we saw that the responses in the kleda is actually reflecting the status of the dosha in the doshas in the body, some sort of a real time. Again, it is a real time reflection. So, obviously, we can assume or we can propose that the events happening in the koshta makes changes in the status of the doshas as well. I do not know whether I am successful in making the sentences complex. I will repeat. Earlier, we saw that the events in the koshta make simultaneous responses in the kleda. Earlier, we saw that the responses in the kleda is reflecting the status of the doshas of the sharira. So, for obvious reason, events happening in the koshta makes immediate change in the status of doshas as well. A is related to B. C is related to B. So we claim that A is related to C as well. So there revolves a loop with 3 players: koshta, kleda, dosha. Koshta, kleda, dosha. Let us keep this idea in our minds so that we can use them in our future applications and explanations. Now, we saw that kleda is spread across everywhere in the sharira, inside as well as outside. Outside also. Svedasya kleda vidhrudi. So it is holding some amount of kleda. Whether it is malarupa kleda, whether it is dhadu-rupa kleda, forget about it. There is kleda spread across the interior and exterior of the body all the time. Now, we will be considering the inside of the body because that forms the major territory this in our context. So we have a pool of kleda in our bodies and we have 3 doshas. We saw that the 3 doshas represent the 3 possibilities or the 3 ways in which the Panchabhutas organize in a sharira. 5 bhutas make some sort of a coalition and organize within into 3 domains. three agencies. That is how we proposed the idea of three doshas. If the doshas make responses in the kleda, I repeat, if the doshas make responses in the kleda, or reverse, if the kleda makes responses in doshas, in both ways, there is a need of three types of responses. Because one pool of kleda, three doshas. In one line, we will have to say that kleda making responses in vata, kleda making responses in pitta, kleda making responses in kapha. Or on the reverse, we have to make statements like vata making responses in the kleda, or pitta making responses in the kleda, or kapha making responses in the kleda. So there is a need of three types of responses in both lines. It is taken for granted that there are three doshas. So there is no further discussion, questioning about that. So it is easier to visualize the doshas influencing the kleda in three different manners. That is somewhat easy. That means there is a vadika change in the kleda. That means the vada making influence on the kleda. There is a paitika change in kleda, or a kabhaja change in kleda. This is somewhat easier to visualize. But looking it from the other side, let us see the possibilities. Can there be three types of kledas existing in Sharira? The question I repeat, can there be three types of kledas existing in the Sharira so as to specifically influence the three doshas? Or is a subclassification of kleda possible? That will be an interesting analysis. And I would like to give a big yes to answer this question. We can envisage three types of kleda in the Sharira, influencing the three doshas specifically. They are Madhura Rasa kleda, Amla Rasa kleda, and Kadu Rasa kleda, influencing Kapha, Pitta, and Vada respectively. A Madhura Rasa kleda, Amla Rasa kleda, and Kadu Rasa kleda, influencing Kapha, Pitta, and Vada respectively. These three are the predominating rasas in the three stages of Ahara Pajana in the chronology. That is also interesting. The first stage of Pajana creates a surge in the Madhura Rasa, a surge in the Jala Prithvi Bhudas, and a surge in the Kabhadosha in the Koshtha. As we discussed, this is reflected in the kleda of the Sharira simultaneously. So what happens? There is a surge of Madhura Rasa, Prithvi Jala or Jala Prithvi Bhudas, and Kabhadosha in the kleda. Of course, this is a transient surge because no Bhuda Gunas are added to the Sharira, because the Pachana is not completed and Rasadhatu is not formed, Dhatu Agnis are not yet operational. So what? We call it as an Avasthapaga of the first order. In the second stage, there is a surge of Amla Rasa, Agni Bhuta, and Pitta Dosha in the Koshta. As in the stage of first stage, in the case of first stage, this is reflected in the Sharira Kleda. So there is a surge in the Amla Rasa, Agni Bhuta, and Pitta Dosha in the Kleda. This is also transient. In the third and the last phase of Pachana, there is a surge of Kadurasa, Agni Vayu Akasha Bhutas, and Vada Dosha in the Koshta, which will be reflecting in the Sharira. So Kleda becomes Kadurasa, Agni Vayu Akasha Bhuta predominant, and Vada Dosha increased. So here we find three forms that the Kleda can accomplish: Madhura Rasa, Amla Rasa, Kadu Rasa. Now it is transient. But when we take the system as a whole, it is not about a possibility or a transient potential, but it is a fact. So we find that a preset shift in the nature of Kleda is possible. A Madhura Kleda first, Amla Kleda second, Kadurasa Kleda in the last in the three Avastha Pagas of Ahara. We have to connect this idea to many other areas for understanding the story of doshas, so that we can understand what is happening in dosha vriddhi, so that we can understand what is happening in dosha kshaya in a better manner. So today I think we have to stop at this point because it is already 2 minutes past 7 o'clock. Before that, we will see whether there are some questions in the chat box. Yes. Can we understand this dosha predominance when we do blood test during different times of paga going on? Is it possible? It's a very beautiful question, an interesting question. Definitely, I hope Dr. Veena can work on it. It is because these facilities are possible. What is happening to the interior of the body, whether it is the fluid called blood or the avayava called blood or in some other areas, whether that sort of a changes are happening by some way or the other during different parameters. It will be a wonderful observation, I hope. Theoretically, it is possible or it should happen. Now, on a real-time assessment, whether it is manifesting that way or not, I think we have to find and establish. So I think we are going to branches and sub-branches of the finer aspects of Ayurveda Shariram, so that the samprapti or the vikriti vijnanam is becoming a moonwalk, something very easy. So thank you so much for traveling with me in this beautiful concepts of Ayurveda. So here we stop. Bhishajam sadhuvrittanam bhadramagamasarinam abhyastakarmanam bhadram bhadrabhirashinam. Thank you very much.